Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna kind of adjust my camera a little. Earthy Wise Woman here. How you doing? It has been so long since I have done a video, and life tends to get in the way when you have something else to do. I guess you could say. I don't know how that saying goes. Anyway, I hope everybody's been good. Having good days and everything, and I hope everybody had a very good Astora, which is coming up. Um, anyway, why am I coming to you today? Hmm. You know, there has been such wonky energy in our world, and it's going to get worse way before it gets better. And I've had some people say, well, why would you say that? That's throwing negativity. I'm not throwing negativity. And I want to make that very clear. And I want you guys to take this and extend it into your own lives. Whenever you have to put order in your life, confusion has to, blow off. In other words, let me put it in imperative. Has anybody ever cleaned their house? And when they're trying to organize things and get things together, the house actually looks more unkept than it did before you started trying to clean it up because you're trying to put order in. And when you put order in, you basically discover some of the confusion that was already there. It may have always been there, but you worked it, It was still confusion. But when you have to confront it and handle it, then it becomes visible. And it looks like it's more messier than it was before, and it's not. To handle confusion, you have to expose the confusion. And it gets, like I said, when you're putting in order, confusion has to blow off. So it looks worse than what it did before you tried to put in the order. But that doesn't mean you stop. You keep going. You do what you need to do in order to get your life together. Okay? That's being said, right now in our world, what we're dealing with is the same thing. There is a lot of confusion going on in our world. And really, what's going on is a lot of things that were out of source, things that weren't really there in a good way, things that we as people were looking at, we were seeing them, but we weren't doing anything about it. Now things are being done, and we see the narrative as it really is, and it's shit. We're seeing the shit. I could say it like that. It's like the story about the emperor's new clothes. Everybody saw that the emperor was naked until one little boy, we were playing off, oh yeah, look good in them silks. Till one little child said, the emperor is naked. And he called it as it is. Even in our magical life, whenever, sometimes we cast spells, and when we're casting these spells, we wonder why they don't work, at least right away. And one of the reasons is there's so much crap and confusion in our lives. It's not that the spell wasn't going to work or didn't work, it's because it couldn't get through all the crap in order to manifest itself. So I'm going to make a suggestion to you guys, and I want you to listen. For people who say are going to be casting a spell for love, they want love, get your emotional life together before you cast a spell for love. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it why, because we do want to be happy and we want to find that special somebody. But here's the thing about that special somebody, guys. If you're all kinds of messed up, basically you're going to attract all kinds of mess up. So that's why I say better to get yourself emotionally in order before you start casting for love, because you cannot expect somebody to save you from yourself. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're casting the spell for love and you're not mentally together yourself. And sadly, usually what happens is when we haven't got our heads together and, our life's a crapped up mess, many times we end up attracting ourselves to people who are similar or somewhat self destructive. And they're basically are not good for us. So before you cast a spell for love, I would cast a spell for self love and self healing. And that's kind of a side note. Because today I really don't have anything, any specific topic. Well, I have a few things I want to talk about, but nothing specific. So I do want to address what you're seeing in our planet, but I was talking to a sister practitioner this weekend, and she was mentioning how things had been in the magical community in the 80s and in the 70s. Now, understand, I was a child in the 70s, but I remember going to circles and coven meetings with my grandmother, and she would, tag along with the children and making the maypole and everything. It was really a wonderful time in the 70s. And it was also because some of you guys, you weren't even born then. Sorry. But in 1973, Roe v. Wade became the law of the land. And that was where we could have legal abortion. And a lot of you guys went around for that. But there was a tiny rift in the magical community about that because some people were pro life and some people were pro choice. And I saw my grandmother, and she didn't say a word. She just kind of sat back and kind of was sad. And I'm like, huh. Well, I was 7, so I didn't really understand the situation. But later on, when I became a grown up, I asked her, before she passed away, what was her consideration about the Roe v. Wade? And my grandmother said it introduced unbalance into our universe, in her opinion. And I said, what do you mean unbalance? What do you mean by no balance? She said, because the life of magic, our magical practitioner, is life, the giving of life, the creation of life. When we plant plants, it is life. We are a respecter of life. We talk to the trees. We respect the environment. That is all life affirming. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say the A word here on YouTube because a lot of people are banned for saying the A word. But I'm going to go ahead and risk it. When Roe v. Wade was passed, it made getting an A legal in every state. Now, before that, some states were absolutely, you could have one of those, and in other states it was illegal, you could not. And they were arguing women's rights and everything and such as that. And I explained that to my grandma. I said, well, grandma, a woman has a right to her body and blah, blah, blah. And my grandmother said, well, she goes, but yet, she goes, how is it then in every other form of life, we are life affirming as a society? We affirm life when it comes to planting. We affirm life when it comes to our animals and such. I mean, yeah, we do. I believe in spaying and neutering dogs and cats because of the overpopulation of animals, and it's not fair to the animals. But spading and neutering is not the same as abortion. Yes, I said it. It's not the same. So I said, well, and I asked her, I said, well, what do you think would have been what would have been proper? She goes, making contraceptives, excuse me, a lot more accessible so that a woman had more choices prior to having sex. She goes, she said some things that made sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and step on my form about abortion and such. I know a lot of people are going to say, Earthy Wise Woman, you're backwards. I'm not backwards. I'm not backwards. I understand that in all areas that we need sometimes to have an abortion. Sometimes it is needed. Sometimes there's uh, a life-threatening situation where you would need one. Absolutely. I think the part that I have a problem is when we, as practitioners, engage in what we know to be risky behaviors and then decide, well, okay, now I'm going to get an abortion. And yet we didn't plan in advance. And what I mean by plan in advance is we didn't get contraception in advance, or we didn't, as women, we could put ourselves on oral. They have so many different forms of birth control now. And we didn't do anything. We just decided to engage in risky behaviors and then decide, well, now that I have gotten pregnant, I'm going to get an abortion. Okay, that's a risky behavior that you engaged in, and then you're going to do another risky behavior. And you're like, well, abortions are safe. Yes, but, and people say, well, it's not, this child isn't living. Yes, it is. And I'm going to tell you why. It's like, if you can hear a heartbeat, that's a living thing, okay? The moment that the egg and sperm come together, that's a living thing. I've heard the arguments, well, it's not living yet. It's not living till this, it's not living till that. You engaged in something that can create life. So if you're engaging in something that can create life, that is creating life. Now, if you don't want to have a child, then engage in doing things that would prohibit that. Wear a condom. Use oral. Uh, use oral. What am I? Birth controls. Uh, use the sponge. I mean, there's so many different choices. Take the shot. There are many things that we can engage in order not to have a baby. I'm just going to say it like that. And it's there. You can get it at a clinic. You can talk to your doctor. But here's the thing, if you're going to engage in sex, be responsible. That's all I'm really saying. Be responsible, okay? Because there is a balance that we need to, in order to, responsible practitioners are balanced. And you cannot say, I believe in life, but I'm going to get an abortion. How's that balancing? That's not really balancing. Um, I'm not telling you not to have premarital sex or not. I'm not going into that morality stuff. I'm saying if you're going to have sex, take precautions. That's all I'm saying. My grandmother used to say, because my grandmother was old school. We're talking, the 1940s, 1950s. She would say, don't bang what you ain't going to marry. Or don't bang what you don't want to really be with. Because, that is not smart. Because, let's face it. I am not going to do the Humpty dance with somebody who I sure as hell don't want to hang out with. And we are more liberated as pagans because we realize that sex is, sex and we can engage in sex, but we also need to realize this, even in around us, when we look at trees and when we look at the birds and when we look at other animals, even though we like to think that animals indiscriminately have sex, honestly, they really don't. They don't. And I'm going to say why I say that. Um, Roosters have to prove themselves in order to get a hen, and many other animals do too. That's one of the reasons why in the bird community, the men are all kinds of pretty, and the women are kind of not. But the girls, the guys are very beautiful, and they are mainly to get the attention of the female to say, "Look, I am worthy. Do me, have it with me." And we in our community as humans, we should need to, we need to also say, hey, be a little bit more, finicky. Be picky. Like, nah, I don't want to be a partner with you. And it's not just because, well, he ain't rich, he ain't this, he ain't that. There are a lot of other considerations why you wouldn't want to partner with someone. Maybe they are insensitive or thoughtless, or maybe they are conceited or arrogant. There are a lot of negative reasons why you wouldn't want to engage in sex with someone, and there's a lot of positive reasons why you would. And these, in as opposed to just saying, "Well, I was just in the mood and he was there." Okay, well, that happens, but now here's the thing. Believe it or not, that makes us less than animals, because animals at least have a criteria why they're going to knock boots with the other animal. And a lot of people say, well, dogs don't, they just do. Yeah, okay. Yes, kind of they do. If you actually know the nature of dogs, they do. They don't just wildly engage. And even if they did, usually it's a blood fest. Cats as well. It can lead to other cats getting hurt or killed. Okay? But now I'm trying to explain to you though, I've seen, mountain goats fight for the woman they want. Deer, antelope, all of them. All I'm saying is that here we are in a society where reproduction and producing offspring is a necessity because it leads to the propagation of the species. If we don't have babies, humans don't exist. I'm not saying just randomly have a baby, but to not have a child is kind of going against nature. I mean, if you truly don't want to have a child, then don't have a child. That's fine. That live and let live. But don't go out and engage in a behavior you know could lead to having a child. And if you don't want one, make sure you take precautions that you don't get pregnant. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Because that is a balance of life. There is a balance. Okay? I know a lot of practitioners who wanted to have children. They didn't want to have a husband. And I thought, oh, okay, that's cool. You know, I do believe though, yeah, I know you're gonna say, oh my God, earthly wise woman. I thought you were progressive. I am progressive. I do not believe that a man and a woman should have to marry each other to have children. I think it's a cool idea, though, that they cohabitate with each other. I do believe that a child needs that male and that female energy in order to grow up to be a much more productive and mentally stable individual. Male and female energy is good to have. It's good for us to see both. I mean, women have better relationships with men when they had a father in their lives because they can see how a man should treat a woman, and that's a good thing. And I also believe that a man needs to see how a relationship is in order to be a good husband or a father to his child. I mean, when a man doesn't have a father in his life, he doesn't have that role model. And so the role model is kind of needed. In many other communities back in the day, the community raised the child. The entire community raised the child. In Africa, that is still the same way, where the entire community raised the child. In communes, and believe it or not, Earthy Wise Woman used to live in a commune in my younger days with my children. And all the men and women would come together and we would raise the children as a unit. So these children got to see the energy of men and women working together to build a good community in a harmonious manner. They were together, they saw men and they saw women, they worked alongside us, they saw us do our gardening, they saw us milking cows, they saw the men fixing the plows, and in some cases hunting, and a lot of they would go off on hunts. They would see the women sewing and crocheting and cooking, and a lot of people said, well, those are gender roles and gender specific roles. There is nothing wrong with gender specific roles. I think the problem comes in when we belittle somebody because they are doing those roles. A lot of women in the, when we had the first wave of the women's rights, women were not put down for wanting to be to be the housewives. But later on, when the second wave came, a lot of women put down their own sisters because these women wanted to stay home and take care of their children. And they didn't want to be out in the workplace. They wanted to be the caregivers. They wanted to be the nurturers. And those women were considered less than women because she wasn't going out in the workforce and she wasn't going out and providing. She didn't need a man to make herself look like this, and you don't need a man to do this. The point being is this: because we did that, the generation of children who came into that are now suffering from that. We have men now who honestly don't know how to be men. And if, because when they were trying to, and just one generation back, if, this man wanted to have a wife who stayed home and he went out and was the breadwinner, he was considered being chauvinistic because he was putting his wife down or his woman down because he wanted to go out and do this and she's needed to stay home and do that. And I think that maybe we may have messed up because there are some we see what's going on now because we're talking just one generation back. um Men and women raised children together. Okay, the father did go out and he did do the traditional role of the man and the woman did stay home. But I think we need to realize that boys saw what fathers did, and girls, women saw what their moms did. And I'm here to tell you one thing: that didn't make the woman weak because I have been, at some point, I was home doing the nurturing of the mothering role without being out. And being a housewife is a hard ass job. I'll repeat that if you didn't understand. Being a housewife, a stay at home mother, is a hard ass job. And I'm going to tell you why. The stay at home mother cooks, so she is a cook. She can sew usually, so she's a seamstress. She's the one who does all the paying of the bills and the marketing. So here she is. She's also the accountant, and she's the one who plans, takes care of the money situations. Okay, something breaks. Usually, she's the one who has to fix things like that. So she's almost a carpenter. The point is, we have always put down the woman for being the housewife, and yet she is really doing more than she probably would have ever done just going out into the workplace. She does a lot more. And men, here he is. He has to not just be the provider, he is also the protector. Okay? He's the one who ensures that his family has a good place to live, clean environment, all these things. They work together in harmony. And it's in that harmony of the man role, the female role, where you may say it blurs. And it's supposed to, it merges. It's like the pink blends in with the blue and becomes this beautiful shade of lavender because they blend. They work together in harmony in order for things to happen. And it's that same way with the Lord and the lady. The God and the Goddess works in harmony. We have Mother Earth. Mother Earth is where we put the seed being the man. We plant it in Mother Earth. But the sun shines on that plant and the water pours on that plant, and together the plant grows. One cannot work without the other. They need each other in order for there to be anything. We're not going to have flowers without rain and sun, without air and earth. We're not going to have anything. Life doesn't exist with just one or the other. We need both. So even in our situation now, we need men and female to work together in a harmony way, or else our population will diminish. Our roles will be blurred. We won't know if we're men or women because we're not working in harmony anymore. In a way, we're working against each other, and that's really quite sad. There's no harmony there. The God and the goddess work together. There's a song, you know, how very happy are we to live in our family. Mother Earth and Father Time. And you're like, well, how does that Mother Earth, Father Time? Mother Earth is the earth. We go through the seasons. We go through spring. She changes and she grows. And Father Time, we go through all of the different times with him. And so much that the days get longer, the days get shorter, and we have the seasons, the springs and the summers. All of this merges because as the spring changes and the days get longer and the days get cooler and the days get warmer, the earth changes as well. The trees get greener, the trees, the leaves fall, the fruit is bared, and then the ground goes dormant. All of these harmonies and blendings, the God and the goddess working together in sync and yet in a beautiful pattern that comes together as a tapestry. And it's a beautiful thing. And we mimic that. At least we did. At least we did. And it's really sad because now we have not only lost our roles as male and female, we have vilified one or the other. We vilified men for not being more feminine. We vilify women for not being more stronger and independent instead of just being women and men. And I'm not even sure if we even know what it is to be a woman or a man. We say these words, but do we understand what they all mean? I'm not sure I even understand what it means anymore. I really don't. I'm being honest. I'm just speaking how I feel. I would I like to believe that this is a time that we need to reconnect with the energies of male and female. And we need to reconnect and figure out what that means for each of us. I know that being a man is way more than having a great car and a thick pocketbook. There's more to the energy of a man than that. And there's more to a woman than having a nice set of knockers, a nice ass, and, how she can shake her little jaw, whatever. We are not ornamental. We're more than that. And a man is not more than just the he man. What does that mean? And we need to, I think that's one of the things of meditationals that we need to do. Define what is it to be male or female? You know, how is it that we have gotten to the point where we have merged all of these things? Is this healthy? Shouldn't we question this? Why are we going along with this agenda of this whole LGBT without questioning any of this? Is this healthy? Why is it healthy? Why is it not healthy? Do we have anything in our in nature that mimics this? I mean, I see seahorses where the men will carry the babies, but I know that the female gets pregnant first and then they give it to the male. But I like to believe that's their way of playing their roles, but they still play their roles. I mean, even if the male seahorse has the babies, I never turn around and see the female seahorse has the babies. It's always the male. That is their role. So I'm saying, why is it that now we're I don't know, not even blending the roles. We're not even sure what role is what and who is what and what is where. And that is why I'm thinking that maybe we need to go back and take a look at this. And the reason why it's important is because it will, if you don't think that this is not going to mess with our population, it will, to the point where we're not going to want to have children because the roles of why and what reprocreation means will be skewered. And it's already happening and it's already started. Um, that's my rant for the day. So I know I'm probably going to get some hate mail. And if I do, I'll take it one hate mail at a time. Everybody has a right to their opinions. I'm not trying to thrust my opinion on you. This is just what I've been observing from my eyesight. If you agree, please leave a comment. If you agree, please, subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And you guys have a great afternoon. And as always, stay safe, be aware, trust in what you feel, question what you see and hear, and blessed be.